Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host Hamza Chowdhury, and welcome to today's daily stock recap. It is Thursday, March 11th, and what a day we had in the markets. We made all-time highs in some of the indexes, and it was a wonderful day. The Dow was making new records, the S&P was making new records, and you can see here on the side, you guys, we were trading just, it felt like a few days ago. You know, we had lost a lot of momentum in the market. We traded actually below the 50-day. And you can see these long wicks. We really pushed and bounced off the 50-day like we've had several times previously. And I mentioned constantly that, you know, I would be risking in a bear market sort of down here at the 200-day, which was around 350. And so it looks like with this bounce and the new highs, guys, it's been awesome. I mean, it was just the stimulus bill got signed, and hopefully that's going to bring relief to several people out there that need it. And I'm just happy to hear that, you know, we as a country are injecting $2 trillion back in our economy and in our markets, of course. And so for Apple, you know, same thing. I was watching the stock. We mentioned before that the iPhone was sort of the parts that they were shortage. There was a shortage on parts, and that the stock essentially got beat down on a day that a lot of stocks were recovering. Tesla had that major move, and you know, there was all these sort of positive catalysts, and Apple just unfortunately just didn't have you know, the best of news. And so the stock traded more or less sideways. It was down for the day. But we still held this sort of dab level, which is sort of in the, and if you're new to the channel, the sort of thin green line is just levels where I like to potentially buy some shares. I don't go necessarily a full size. And so the 120 level held pretty well, and you can see we sort of traded sideways for most of the day. And one of the things that I've noticed, and for you guys who do trade Apple, is I noticed that what happens when it has bad news is usually it recovers the next day. And it does that a lot of times. So anytime there's bad news or a catalyst for Apple, if you look at it and you sort of buy it, let's say end of the day, the next day it doesn't gap lower. A lot of stocks, it takes a few days to digest the news, and you kind of wait for a confirmation on the bottom. But one thing with Apple is look what happened, right? It gapped up. It gapped up actually $2. And so if you held a small position yesterday, a lot of you guys I know were buying down here. You know, you're essentially 2 points up when you woke up today, okay, in pre-market, and it held the levels pretty well. And you can see we tested our resistance level here at 123, and so our next resistance level is 123. We validated the 120, and so I expect that Apple will continue to sort of reclaim to get back to the 50-day, which before it had this major breakdown. So you see here, this level here around 128 is where all of a sudden you see these red candles, and Apple really broke down. So I expect that we'll get back up there, and it's probably going to line up well with this 50-day as it comes down here. Tesla, you know, Tesla guys, just solid. You know, I just this day here when we had that 110 point swing, we just broke through these resistance and we validated them. And yesterday again we validated this. So now I've turned them green. And our upper resistance 695, guys. Guess where the pivot was? Where were we trading intraday? You can just see it's just wrapping around that 695, but we did close above it. And so tomorrow I expect to see the same thing. As where was Tesla having problems? Right at this level around 720. Okay, so I can definitely see us testing the 720 and potentially the 695. And like I said, my goal still is that we got to get back up here at the 775, which is the 50-day level as well, okay? And so as this sort of Bollinger Band comes together, we'll start trading in a channel, start trading sideways. You know, again, if we get a lot of bullish momentum like we did previously in the market, guys, we can easily get to all-time highs here pretty quick, okay? And there's plenty of room to move for Tesla, okay? Now that it's made this move, we can easily get up to 1,000 on this next leg, okay? So definitely look forward to that. Palantir, I mean, guys, you know, we've been talking about it on the channel. What did we have today, guys? We talked about this yesterday. We know signs of a breakout. And so we had this the MACD line cross over the signal line. We had our first sort of momentum day. You can see that, you know, the RSI is definitely going up. The volume more or less has stayed the same for the last couple of weeks. And now we're trading right where the 50-day is, right? So that's our resistance. And I think we're going to break through it. This is a bullish stock, and what I've been saying all along is we just got to get rid of these sellers. All the people down here were just bashing the stock, pushing it down. Just got to get rid of them. And as they get bought up and we've held these sort of low 20 levels, we'll get back up. And you can see that this Bollinger Band's coming back into this channel. And see, when it was back here, it was essentially trading from a high of like 29 down here to 23. Okay, and so you can see this channel starting to form, and then eventually we'll get back up here and start reclaiming back to $39-40 in no time. I mean, more contracts, guys. They announced another 6-year partnership with I believe it was an automaker. And so the next level I'm looking for tomorrow will be the test right here of 2750. It's finally come. It was our strong support in the past, and so we'll act like a resistance. And so if we have a strong bullish day, guys, don't be surprised if we break it, and then we of course test it as a support, and then we can change that from a resistance to a support. And you know, we validated 25.50, so tomorrow 27.50 to 25.50 I expect us to trade in. Again, if we have bullish momentum, definitely I can see us breaking it, potentially above the 50-day. But then you can see here our next resistance will be $31. Okay, so we're slowly getting up there, guys. We're slowly reclaiming all that we lost down here. Okay, and then for Clover, you know, what can I say? Same thing, guys. We have a lot of these setups on this channel that we mentioned, and same thing here, guys. We're about to have that crossover too, so it looks like we're gonna have another breakout on this stock. And I mentioned to you guys, you know, I know a lot of you guys were, you know, trying to dip by, and this is where, you know, you start getting the confirmation. And so you got the confirmation, and now what happens? The stock starts to reclaim. And so I mentioned that, you know, yeah, it can come up here to the 50-day, but my game plan is to get up here past this resistance. So we have a clearly now the 815, which we identified a week ago, is now clearly a support. And so I expect tomorrow that we will test the 925s. And then, like I said, we may end up trading between the two levels. And then eventually, when we get to this third level of resistance of 1050, I'll be trading and selling my shares right up here. Okay, so I'm a short-term swing trader. I'm a day trader mainly. I really don't even care for swings, but I do swing when I need to. I mentioned to you guys when I bought this in the low 9, so I've been sort of bag holding this and selling calls. And so it hasn't been a big deal. It's only been about 4 or 5 days. And so as we reclaim, you know, I can see us getting back easily over the 50, and we just need to get some bullish momentum. And again, just not having a whole lot of volume, but with this, you know, the RSI picking up, and then of course this sort of setup, I personally like the way that this is trading way below the 50-day. You know, it's bullish, or it's bearish, excuse me, and now we can easily see this breakthrough tomorrow, potentially Monday, guys. So don't be surprised if you see this thing up. And guys, it was already up, like, I think it was like 8-9% part of the day. And so, you know, it's up 7%. It's just solid, and you can see it was up after hours up to 882. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 925 first thing in the morning, kind of like we did here. We hit it first thing in the morning, and then we just faded off. Okay, and then AMC, guys, I was really surprised. If you read this article, you know, their earnings were terrible, right, as expected. So it plunged, you know, last quarter 162 million. The revenues plunged, and they lost, you know, essentially, you know, 1.5 billion, you know, in the year. It's like they basically beat the estimate by 20 million, and it just amazes me that they only made that much money. And you know, 10%, would you say, 162 over 1.5, 10% of the revenues, and you know, they basically trade more or less the same, and they hold the $10 level. A little surprised. I thought, for risk management perspective, I mentioned yesterday, I thought it would go to 8, which we've had some good consolidation and support right back here, right? And so I was really surprised it held the level. And so I was looking to see if they have an offering coming up, because that's the only reason why I can see that they want to hold the level, because when you dilute your shares, you want to obviously raise the most money for the company. And the way you do that is you obviously sell it when the shares are trading extremely high. And so for a company that, you know, essentially lost, and said it lost, you know, $4.5 billion, I mean, that's just incredible that it could hold at essentially not at all-time highs, but at recent highs, and compared to what we've seen with, you know, AMD and all the other tons of stocks that we cover. So guys, it held, and that's a valid support. The $10 level, really, it's a valid support until it gets broken. I mean, I have my go heavy here at 8, but technically you can argue that you have a $10 support here that's held for the last few days. And so I'm, you know, more or less not interested in carrying AMC long term, but you know, you can, but you know, I feel like the downside risk is just not worth it. And we've already had, remember on our channel, I mentioned the plays that I'm looking for, and we've already had the play. That was yesterday. We had this fill. That's what I was looking for, and we finally had that. We didn't have that this day. Got a lot of people stuck, but we ended up having it yesterday. See, so this fill right here. Okay, and so I'm kind of over it. Once I get my play, I don't really care for the stock and where it wants to go. New stock too, bonus stock for today. I did short this play. A lot of good opportunities. You know, anytime you see a volume jump, you see these sort of emotional moves, a lot of people wanting to get involved. And I was looking for confirmation. And so what happens a lot of times is you start to get involved, and then you get blown out, and then you get blown out, then you get blown out. And so you wait, and it fades, and it holds, and it goes. And so what you want to see is, right, that it goes, it fades, and then it goes, and it breaks, but then it fails. Okay, and then you could get involved here, but then wait for the retest of that level. And so it retested here, right around 9:30, and then it faded. And so this is where ideally you'd want to short, is when you start to identify levels that the stock is having issues sort of breaking. And so that, in this case, there was several levels. I think it got up to like 1065 or something up here. And so it's my first time actually trading the stock. I know a lot of you guys watching, or you may know people, this is a really sort of big stock. It trades a lot of volume. I mean, guys, it trades an average of 50 million shares. It's incredible. And today it was 95. And then it was up after hours, and then it just got faded. So it was good. It held this level pretty well here at 937. And so tomorrow, same thing. I could see this thing coming right down here in the mid 9s, and then it can easily get up here. And if it can break 1050, then we can possibly fade it. But you can see here that we've traded as high as, what was this day, 1877. So, all right, guys. Well, with that said, best of luck. If you have any questions or comments, do post them below. I do respond to all the comments, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye-bye.